I've got one more. We'll stick in the NFC North, and this is a point of contention between you and my Steven, so we're going to have to get it going. Because I loved what the Green Bay Packers did. I don't quite understand the frustration with the class from Goot, just for the simple fact you get one of the true premier pass rushers in the class, a guy who has arguably the most elite upside at the edge rusher position. He could have been a top 5 pick if the board fell a little differently. And then you go and get two of the best tight ends in the draft class. A guy in Luke Montgomery who, had it been he stayed healthy, he would have been a first round pick, very possibly the first tight end off the board. And then you go with Jaden Reed, who's another guy who has a really high ceiling that might have fell a little bit because of the production you saw this last year. But now, this is a Packers offense that's going to be able to run 12 personnel where you didn't see it much last year. It gives you a chance to actually open up the playbook a little more. And I can't find a weakness on this team. I know you wanted a receiver, but, I mean, this is now immediately 3 young wide receivers that you're giving Jordan Love with a great line and a really good running back tandem. I think it's awesome. It gave me shades of Ted Thompson doubling up at tight end.
Bad reference.
I seriously really like this.
All right.
I gotta agree with Wally before I let you go on a rant about why Wally's wrong. I have to agree with Wally here. I give the Packers a B plus. I think
yes, B plus.
I think day one and early day two they did a great job of filling out the roster. I don't know why the obsession. I think it's because it hasn't happened in forever that the obsession with drafting a wide receiver in round one is there. But frankly, between Dobbs and Watson, you have 2 very, very talented young wide receivers already on the roster. Not to mention in a deep wide receiver draft, the Packers selected 3 more wide receivers. I just think they played the draft well, and I think they did a similar best player our guy available at the positions they were at, and I kind of liked it for them.
See, there's just so much I want to unpack based on. So let's start with the first round pick. Like Lucas Van Ness, I don't think it's a bad pick, but it's like, what did we just go through? We don't have a number 1 receiver. It is so clear that it's what's needed in the offense. Look around the league. Oh, Lamar just got a number 1 receiver. Look at Baker's year when they got Odell for the first year. Look at Joe Burrow getting his wide receiver. Look at Tua getting his wide receiver. Look at Josh Allen when he got Stephon Diggs. Right? So having that number 1 receiver is crucial, and we're so fixated on it, more or less myself. So I haven't seen it in 20 years. We need a game-changing player on this offense because based on the history, we can get you defensive players. Joe Barry, you're not going to do anything with it. Now, granted, drafting a guy that's going to live out more than Joe Barry in Green Bay than Lucas Van Ness will. And yeah, but I don't think at that specific spot, with the words Wally said I want to address next, which is going to cover a lot of it, is the way the board was falling. The way the board was falling for Ness, you don't necessarily need to take him there. Give me a JSN. I want somebody who is a freak athlete on that side of the ball because we don't necessarily need that type of edge rusher. If he pans out and he's great, awesome. More power to him because I think JSN I think they're both going to pan out great. I just want a receiver to set up this offense so there's no excuse for Jordan Love, who Brian Gutekunst is having second thoughts on picking up his 5th-year option. But then all of a sudden, it's either you work now for Jordan or we're set up for the next guy. We're going to go on to round 2. Yes, they got the tight ends and wide receivers. I love it. You're drafting, arguably, the way the board is falling, you're drafting 3rd to 4th to 5th round talent in the 2nd round after drafting back. Like, it is wild to me. You're trading back to get players that are clearly not on the fucking radar of anybody else. I mean, come on. We're getting Tucker Kraft in the 3rd round when that dude hasn't been a blip on anyone's radar. We saw how far Darnell Washington was falling.
That's a testament to Darnell Washington.
And even with there's reports coming out that there is some knee swelling that a lot of the NFL GMs and coaches were kind of concerned about. But at the same time, I just want you to take a risk and be aggressive. This is your time to do it. And based off the track record of Gutekunst, great job. You hit on day 1 picks. I'm happy. 2018, 19, and 2020, I think he might have one player on the roster post day one that's still on the roster. Even 2021, we're missing a couple players. Dude is inept at drafting in round 3. Every single round 3 draft that he has is off the team. And if not, season-ending injury, not productive at all. My argument is I like the draft overall, but the way that he was drafting the positions at that particular spot, I just don't like it. The talent there, you could be pushed back and arguably still get the same players. You push back from 42. I would have rather them kept 42 instead of trading it to Detroit to get Brian Branch, a safety, a position that they did not address that we very much need in the defense. You just skipped on, take some
But
risk.
that goes into drafting for need versus best player available too, and that's where there's a philosophical difference.
At that point, is Lucas Musgrave really the best player available?
You saw the tight end run coming, and I'm telling you, Montgomery had first-round pop until his injuries this year. And Musgrave, sorry. I keep doing Montgomery because of David Montgomery. I was writing about him earlier. But no, first of all, I do agree with you on Joe Barry. And I think that was an indictment of keeping him around. I am not disagreeing with that at all. But what I will say is that this is a defense last year that had 34 sacks, that only had 2 players above 5 sacks on the team collectively. You have to have a pass rush in modern NFL. And Lucas Van Ness is a guy that can jump in day one. He can play inside when you need to. He is a freak athlete, and the ceiling feels very high. Playing him opposite of Rashawn Gary a lot could be a blast, and I feel like this is a ringing endorsement from the team too, that what we saw in the last month of the year from Christian Watson wasn't just a blip, that is who he is, and he can be a
they're gonna get film. That's the thing. They're gonna have film on him.
But there's film on everybody that plays, and he played exceptional the end of the year.
Film on Justin Jefferson. Is that shutting him down?
Are you comparing Justin Jefferson to Christian Watson right now? Because it sounds...
No, but if he's good and he improves, he can be a good number one.
Christian Watson was a borderline top 10 receiver the last month and a half of the year.
Last month and a half, not the full season. We saw how it started. I'm just saying.
But
I think that he can be good, but let's not put him here like he can be that guy.
He can be a number one. That is what they're betting.
Okay, but
Jordan Love.
Yeah, they're betting on. They're betting. Who? Okay, yeah, that's a Jordan Love problem, 100%. What you're saying is I want to buy a Ferrari in the first round of the draft so that my 15-year-old can't drive nephew can try and take it for a spin around the block. Like, if you don't believe in Jordan Love to make the talent on the roster better, then you should be drafting defense, because there's nothing that can heal a rookie, or I shouldn't say a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback faster than a defense that can cover up his mistakes and get him back on the field faster.
If we're not going to have the offense to do it, we're not going to have the pop. Again, Jordan Love's going to start the season off hot. Then people are going to get film on it. Oh, but they have film on Peyton Manning. I don't give a shit if they have film on Peyton Manning.
But that's you say it's about stupid things. There's going to be film on starters. That's how football works.
I know, but people get the NFL catches up to you. That's the argument I'm making. I don't care if you're going to have all these guys, all the defense. The NFL catches up with you on your offense. You're not going to be able to put up points. Doesn't matter if you have an awesome defense.
The whole point of this year is to figure out if Jordan Love can be the starter in Green Bay. He has an offense around him to figure that out.
I disagree. I don't think that he has an offense around him.
I mean,
I think he has Aaron Jones around him.
And it's got to be a top 5 running back tandem. This can't be worse than like 15 to 20th in wide receivers. And now you have 2 young tight ends in a position that is constantly dependent on young turnover in the NFL.
We're taking risk on a FBS tight end. Yes, Tucker Kraft. Yes, he had great stats a year. The dude came up with 350-yard year over 9 games. Musgrave missed injuries, and yes, I know JSN has had his fair share of injuries going into it, so you can't make that argument. I've watched JSN hit Kraft's yearly total in a singular game.
Okay, but that also was against a terrible Utah
tight end versus
defense.
Receiver too. You're not drafting Travis Kelce. David Njoku is like the 6th best tight end in football. He only put up, 300 yards in his second to last season in college. His last season in college.
I was going to say JSN had the number 2 pick in the draft throwing it to him.
Yeah, I like tight ends. I'm not reading into yards. I'm reading into production. reading into what did he do on his
He
target.
played for an FBS school. I'm tired of just Green Bay being like, we got to find these local kids that never want to leave the city of Green Bay because this is way better than what South Dakota's looking like. So it's just going to draft him.
See, I think that coming out of this draft, there's real reason to believe, if I'm a Packer fan, if Jordan Love even lives up to a competent quarterback level, this is a team that can flirt around with the NFC North all year long.
I think they're flirting with the wild card, if anything.
But
I think Detroit made too many good steps. I think Chicago made too many good steps, and Minnesota will just be fluttering around.
So, like, right now, I know this is way out. A lot of things can change. Where does this Packer team rank in the NFC North to you?
In the NFC, I'd probably put it in third.
Okay, so would it go probably like Detroit or Minnesota? Which one?
No, I'd probably put them third or fourth.
I see. I'm putting them at like 2A, 2B with
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
No, I think they didn't get as better as Chicago did, but I still don't think that them getting Minnesota not getting any, like, Minnesota's still above them regardless of how good of a draft Green Bay had, just because they're just more put together. They got a better receiver. We'll see what Dalvin Cook ends up. They have more competent quarterback play, which you never thought you'd hear when comparing it to Kirk Cousins.
We might have to do like a cheese bet of some sort for the year where it comes on to wins.
I'm
where,
in
like,
on
the
that.
loser has to eat like a certain kind of like an amount of cheese or something. There's got to be a Packer feel. But I'm high on this team. I really like this roster.
Minnesota is going to be the fourth team in the division. I'm confident in saying that. I don't care how good the offense is.
So you're selling all of your
Their
Minnesota
defense,
stock now.
100%. And the reason being, their whole defense walked out the door.
What defense?
And, oh, by the way, it might as well be us three out there on defense again. And they only had 2 defensive picks in the draft. They drafted 2 cornerbacks, I think, and that's it. And
see, I can see all 4 of these teams can be within 2 wins of each other. I feel like it's very even.
You're not wrong. There's a lot of varying things. I agree.
Whoever wins their division matchups is going to come out of this division, I think.
I agree. I think this kind of reminds me of the NFC East of old, if we're being honest.
Kind of.
Like
but it actually looks a
like
little bit more entertaining so far.
Yeah, that's true. And we're not being forced to that Sunday night
like,
football
even
games
though
every
we're gonna
week.
like the 7, it's not going to be the 7 and 10 team that makes the playoffs. It's just going to be the team that wins the most divisional games and ends up with like 10 or 11 wins, and it's going to be an entertaining division.
Well, you guys will have to let us know what you think about that. We're obviously very different on the Packers' thoughts right now, so we'd love to hear your guys' feedback.
I just want Gutekunst aggressive. This is your time to be aggressive. Make a name for yourself. That's all I got to say.